Good afternoon, Warren Township Schools. This is Dr. Mingle, Superintendent, with our May 29th school closure update. So everyone knows there are a few slides here about some operational items for the next few weeks as we get through the end of the school year, and then a much more detailed presentation about the return to school committee work that's been going on in the district. So if you only have a few minutes, I would recommend checking out the first few slides, but if you want to get into the details about the return to school process, the rest of the presentation will go into that in much more thorough fashion. So thanks for joining us, and I hope the information is very helpful to you. As far as where we are in the school year, we just finished the week of May 25th through 29th, which had our day off on Monday for Memorial Day and our implementation of asynchronous and synchronous throughout the rest of the week. Next week, the week of June 1st through 5th, we will have what had been our regular schedule from before break, before the Memorial Day weekend, with Monday and Tuesday, followed by a virtual field trip on Wednesday, and then returning to the full implementation on Thursday and Friday. Things shift a bit in the week after. On the week of June 8th, we will have full school days with asynchronous instruction and synchronous options on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then a virtual field trip on Friday. And there's more information about why that is in just a few minutes. We will also be launching a detailed parent survey during the week of June 8th that will need to be submitted to give us feedback that will help us for summer planning. That will go out separately from our typical updates and the brief surveys. This will be a much more involved survey to get input from the community about our options for how we return to school. And then the week of June 15th are scheduled half days on Monday and Tuesday, June 15th and 16th. Next week, all parents will be receiving letters from their school principals with details about how you will return materials that your children have to the school district and pick up materials that we have of your children's, including things like medication, locker belongings at the middle school, classroom materials, and so on. Please review those letters in detail, as they have a great amount of information and very specific protocols and procedures that we must follow to be in compliance with Governor Murphy's executive orders, and for the safety and well-being of all of our staff and our parents and community members. Those pickup dates are scheduled for Wednesday, June 10th at the middle school and Friday, June 12th at the elementary schools. Again, much more information coming in the letters from your principals next week. With that, I'm going to turn my attention to the return to school process and some more detail about where we are. The vision of the Return to School Committee and the process we will follow is to safely return all students and staff members to the Warren Township Schools. As I've shared previously, we will be using the Return to School Roadmap, which is from a national organization and adopted by the New Jersey Department of Education as the framework for how we're organizing our return to school procedures. For us, there are 6 categories of areas of focus: governance, wellness, instruction, facilities, school operations, and technology. Within each area, there are goals and objectives for both district leaders, which is what I will focus on in today's presentation, and school leaders, which our principals are focused on. And they're organized into 3 different timeframes: what are called due first, which are things that we're working on now; things that we'll be working on over the summer, which they call due before school opens; and then items we'll be working on when schools are open and operating. Whenever that might be, there are items for us to follow up on. Our district Return to School Committee includes the following individuals that you can see on the screen, representing district administrators and stakeholders from all different kinds of roles across our schools and departments. In addition, we have established school-based Return to School committees, which include the same roles at each school: principal, assistant principal at the middle school, our school secretaries, counselors, head custodians, a mental health liaison, which may be a social worker or a school psychologist, school librarians and nurses, 2 teachers, and a paraprofessional. The district committee is responsible for district-wide policy and procedure decisions and making recommendations to the Board of Education through the board's ad hoc committee. The school committees are responsible for helping inform that work and then interpreting it for the school level and deciding on the implementation strategies as we make decisions over the course of the next several months. How will we make those decisions? Currently, there is no timeline provided by Governor Murphy or the New Jersey Department of Education for when they will release guidance to school districts about what we should or should not be preparing for, or a timeline for when a decision will be made about when or if we can reopen for September. In the absence of state guidance, which we know will come down the road, we are planning for multiple scenarios using the best available data and guidance that we can find. The Return to School Committee reviews professional guidance as it becomes available. To date, we have reviewed the Centers for Disease Control activities and initiatives supporting the COVID-19 response and the President's plan for opening America up again, which focuses mostly on the physical and mental health concerns and ways that we can provide for the wellness of all of our employees and students. The state of New Jersey's The Road Back, Restoring Economic Health Through Public Health, which is not focused on schools, but provides guidance on things like the number of people that can gather at a single time. The Council of Chief School State Officers Restart and Recovery Framework. This is the organization that includes the New Jersey Department of Education's commissioner and helps guide the state's planning. Warren Township Schools contracts a local physician to serve as the school district's medical officer, and we have guidance from him. The American Enterprise Institute published a blueprint for back to school. The American Federation of Teachers published a plan to safely reopen America's schools and communities. The Maryland Department of Education has already issued guidance to its school districts, which we have reviewed. The American Association of Pediatricians issued guidance in its Return to In-Person Education in Schools document. A collection of former and current state education commissioners and superintendents called Chiefs for Change issued ideas in the return. The New Jersey School Boards Association published Searching for a New Normal in New Jersey's Public Schools. And we are also starting to receive academic studies and documents from other countries. So SAGE, which is a government research organization in England, published a task force report that includes modeling different scenarios for relaxing school closures and what the impact is on public health, not only within the school community, but in the wider community as well. What happens as each of these new documents is published is it comes to the district administration, we review it, we embed it within our return to school framework, and then we use that information to help guide our own decision-making and thinking. Obviously looking for areas where there is a coalescing of ideas. As we move forward, we will continue to publish weekly email and video briefings throughout the summer. So we encourage all staff and community members to make it a habit to check their emails on a regular basis. I intend for these updates to happen on Thursday afternoons throughout the summer so that you will know one time each week there will be new information shared so that you're always up to date. In addition, we will be publishing a dashboard, which I'll share with you in just a minute, on the district homepage by early next week so that in real time you can see the current status of every one of our action items. Remember that these action items come from the plans that are being developed by the New Jersey Department of Education as informed by the Return to School Roadmap and the CCSSO guidance. Currently, there are 160 action items on our plan, organized into 6 organizational areas described earlier and the 3 timeframes. We're going to go through each section just to take a quick glance at the do first sections. What you'll see in the roadmap, which will go live again on the website by early next week, is a list of all 160 action items, the subcommittee that is responsible for that item, the time frame, a brief description of the item, and whether it is complete, in progress, or not yet started. Now, of course, this process is beginning, and many things are in progress in the due first sections, while many things in the due before schools open or when schools are open and operating are necessarily in the not yet started category. One of the tricks that we need to manage is making sure that we are proactive and planning as best we can, but not getting so far ahead of guidance from the state of New Jersey that we then have to backtrack and change our procedures. So in instruction, for example, you can see that we've completed the process of creating a working group that is now working on the rest of the items, including developing multi-pronged plans that include scenarios that would allow us to return in September for full on-site in-person learning, some kind of combination of some in-person and some distance learning, or the possibility of remaining fully closed in distance learning. In addition, an area that was a high priority of concern for many parents Overall, item number 47 talks about the setting of an ambitious goal to ensure that every student is on track. And right underneath that, developing a plan for assessing students' learning progress when they return. In the area of wellness, we've completed the process of establishing a health and wellness team by incorporating our existing wellness committees and identifying the right people within the district to help serve on these teams. Other items in progress include coordination with our local health department. I will be joining the other Watchung Hills Regional High School school districts with our local health officers and school physicians next week to talk about their guidance for reopening. Each item represents a significant amount of research and work. For example, item 28 on this list says develop protocols for health screening, such as temperature checks. As we conduct research and review the professional guidance, we find that that recommendation exists in certain places and in other places does not. And so as the science catches up and we learn more, we will be able to make better decisions about the right way to proceed with our local protocols and procedures. It's just one of many examples. In the area of facilities, we are working on making sure that we have a supply chain in place for all of the cleaning and disinfecting materials that we believe we will need to follow CDC guidelines, and making sure that we're updating our procedures and our protocols to keep our staff and our students safe. In the area of operations, you'll see a big section of 4 examples in the middle of the page. And this is one of those areas where we have to be careful of how much time and effort we put into modeling scenarios before we know which scenarios we will be allowed to consider by the New Jersey Department of Education. So here, they talk about modeling out scenarios for a hybrid schedule where some students are in school and some students are at home on some kind of an A-B schedule, either by the day or by the week. They recommend considering options where teachers are the ones to move throughout a building and not students. They recommend thinking about how students get in and out of schools and whether or not we can stagger bell schedules to limit mixing and crossing. How we serve lunch without using large gathering locations. There's many other items here. And again, we are reviewing the guidance that exists from the professional associations right now to determine which variations should be the highest priority for us to spend our time and effort on as we work through the summer. Your feedback will be really important in that. So the survey that will go out during the week of June 8th will ask for some guidance on parental preferences and feelings about which areas seem to be most attractive and which ones seem to be least attractive based on the information we have available to us right now. In the area of technology, you'll see many of these items have been completed in the Due First, mostly because we went through quite a process at the beginning of the distance learning to get technology into the hands of families who needed it, and that matched existing procedures that were already in place as far as communication, device tracking, technology support, and so on. And in the governance area, you'll see there seems to be a lot more, but that's because governance is not divided into the 3 timeframes. Instead, all governance items are considered to be ongoing in the state's plan. This includes the oversight of these committees, making sure that we're communicating one message through these weekly updates to the community, thinking about, for example, in item number 5, the communications, but also the use of funds as they become available from state or federal sources, or much more likely, how we manage decreased funds as state aid will necessarily be reduced to match decreased state revenues. So that's just meant to be a quick preview, but every one of the 160 items in the action plan will be available in the complete dashboard live on the district website by early next week. And it is set up to be updated in real time. So as a committee changes the status of an item, it will be immediately available and viewable in the dashboard. Progress updates will be shared weekly through the community briefing email and video. So the dashboard will give you a quick at-a-glance idea of the many different considerations that we are making and the different research that we are doing. It doesn't give you the backup information about what exactly that might mean for an individual family or staff member. That information will come through these progress updates and email and video. This information has been helpful. You are always encouraged and welcome to email questions and comments to our covid19@warrantyboe.org email address. Those questions are forwarded to the appropriate people to be responded to as quickly as possible. Thank you again for your support and patience. This is a trying time for everybody, and I want everyone to know and be assured that we are working extremely hard to take into consideration as many different variables as we can to develop a safe plan to return our students and staff members to our school facilities as soon as we possibly can. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend.